looks like the participants waiting room has slowed down just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And then other folks, as they come in, we'll just go ahead and greet them in the chat. But thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully you are in the right place. This is the Growing Your Professional Network Through Gratitude virtual event hosted by SJSU² Mentoring and Meetups. We're super excited to have you here today. We have an awesome lineup of alumni and speakers for you all. So let's go ahead and dive in. So firstly, my name is Larissa Bates. I am a career counselor here at San Jose State, primarily for College of Business. And then I have some of my colleagues here that'll also be participating throughout the event. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them to introduce themselves. So Christine, I'll pass it over to you first, and then Braylee.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Bautista. I'm Senior Career Counselor, and I help Larissa with SJSU² as well as Braylee. I'm here to also help you with the chat. So if you have any questions, please do type them in. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Braylee Ferris. I'm an Associate Director with the Alumni Association, and my role on this team is to support all of the alumni mentors in this partnership we have with the Career Center. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So we are 3 of 4 members of our SJSU² mentoring team. We also have Eric Bonesteel, who is also one of our alumni representatives who was not able to be here today, but super excited to help you all understand a little bit more about networking, getting connected to folks in your field, and also getting connected with alumni through the lens of gratitude today. So a couple housekeeping. We'll kick off things with our keynote in just a bit. And then we'll go through a short demo of SJSU², Quick Connections, which is where you can connect with our keynote and some of our alumni guests as well on that platform. Then we'll do some guest shout outs because we do have some other mentors that are here in the room today. We'll transition into our networking portion of the event and do our meet and greet sessions. And then we'll end with a closing. So I do want to let you all know that we are recording the main session, so the keynote and the demo and the guest shout out. However, the meet and greets will not be recorded. So the idea for those is networking and having actual live interactions. So we do hope that you will be able to participate in that and take advantage of the alumni that are here and make some connections. Other things, do make sure if you came in a little bit late to complete that Google form, and that's just so that we can verify that you were actually here today. The other thing, as Christine mentioned, she will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, please go ahead and utilize the chat, and we will address those as soon as possible, if not during our audience Q&A. And then finally, we do ask that you keep your audio and video muted unless prompted otherwise. All right, and with that, I'm super excited to introduce our keynote speaker today. So Bruce is currently the Vice President of Operations Supply Chain at Equus Compute Solutions, where he is responsible for planning, purchasing, program management, operations engineering, quality, logistics, and manufacturing. He graduated from San Jose State University, I will not say how long ago, in case he doesn't want to share that, with a Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering. Since then, Bruce's 30-year career in engineering leadership has spanned several high-profile companies in Silicon Valley, including Apple, Polycom, and Sun Microsystems. On a lighter note, Bruce is multilingual and has traveled all around the globe and has lived in several different countries across Asia and Europe. He enjoys family time, self-improvement, coaching, and focuses on being positive and purposeful and impactful and living in every moment. He also is one of our awesome SJSU² volunteers where he supports and mentors SJSU students. Please give a warm welcome to Bruce Young.
Thank you, Larissa. Thank you for that kind intro. So I think most of you who wants to just take a look at a little deeper background, you could go to my LinkedIn, and if you're from San Jose State, I always accept and chat with you. So it's pretty straightforward. Bruce Young California CA is you can find me easily. First, I hope everybody had a great Easter weekend. I had a couple of days off with my kid and my wife, so that was a wonderful, restful time for us. Before I start going through the some of the experience, I just wanted to discuss a little bit about what's as you guys get ready to get into the workplace. I was involved with San Jose. I've been involved with San Jose State in a mentoring program for quite some time. I was one of the panel speaker on a networking from within a few years back. We had a really good conversation around getting ready for students getting into the workforce and what to expect and some of the things, reality versus expectation and so on. So you know, all of those kind of stuff is going to be critical as you move into the workplace. But there's some fundamental thing I want to share with you, and then I'll get into how I get into mentoring and how I was a recipient of that and benefit from that. There's no replacement for hard work. So just, you know, there's no shortcut in life. There's no replacement for hard work. And you got to be willing to do more than what you're being compensated for, the bottom line. And that becomes your competitive advantage. Okay, just know that someone's always going to see that, even though it doesn't feel like it at all the time. And the second thing is that we all have blind spots. So making sure that your perspective versus reality, you're always having a check up on that. And that's when you know, so important to have people who can help you with that, whether it's a mentor or good friends that give you a straightforward feedback. The one thing that, you know, we all have is we don't know what we don't know, right? So having that open-minded attitude, and at the same time, willingness to learn quickly and explore different opportunity, and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable at times. Those becomes things that you're going to have to adapt to move up in your career. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that, you know, a bigger title, more money. Is really what you really embrace and love to do, right? That's the end of the day. That makes it last for a long time. I learned that from personal experience, where when I graduated from San Jose State, I was working already at Sun Microsystem for about, you know, a big part-time, but, you know, around 30 hours, which includes weekend. And I was going to San Jose State full-time that time. And a lot of it is really getting ready yourself to make sure that, you know, you're willing to do a lot of things. You're willing to learn. You're being comfortable, as I said, that being uncomfortable, you know, doing things that you may not be comfortable, and then learning quickly. So a year after I graduated, they moved me into a design group for about a year, and I hated it because it was in the old days. You know, I graduated in '88, so it's probably a while ago, and it was more isolated when you're doing design. And I quickly realized about 6 to 9 months that wasn't for me. So I moved back into operation, and I spent the rest of my career there. So I have the depth in supply chain operation, manufacturing, and so on. As Larissa said, that I have lived abroad and operated in those kind of different role in those space. Finally, the sponsorship advocate is important, because if you're ready, you also need to get opportunities, right? That's when you know, a lot of people say, hey, you're lucky. It's not luck, really. most of the time. You hit the lottery, you still got to go and buy it, right? You got to take action, but that might have a lot more luck in play than anything else that you would do in your life. So you got to be ready, and when the opportunity hits, you can take advantage of it. So let me jump into my key moments and the experience around the mentoring and so on. After I was at Sun from 84, I started in 84, I graduated in 88. Then in about 1994, I was really ready to want to go into the leadership role. And I didn't have the right sponsorship. So I moved around different organizations within Sun. It was big enough that I can take different roles. And, it was just hard. And there are people you have a lot of people that are also fighting for the same opportunity and so on. At the end of the day, I decided to look for something else outside. And when I found that opportunity, I have basically informed the leadership team that I'm leaving. And there's this person who eventually make the biggest impact in my career. His name is Jerry Robinson. He had passed already about 7-8 years ago. God bless him. And he decided to keep me and said, look, I want you to be here. So I also, after considering a number of different things, I decided to stay, and he became my mentor essentially. And what he gave me was not only the opportunity, but allow me to learn from him up close and personal. So he was a VP of operations in the Spot business unit, and I became the engineering manager under him, and essentially continued to grow in that space. And I was able to learn by watching him in many different formats. He's one of those person who has executive presence. For those of you who a lot of people define that slightly different, but my definition of that is when he comes into a room, everybody's waiting to hear what he has to say, right? Because it's meaningful, is impactful, and real focused discussion that he lead us through. And I learned a lot from that. And over the years, he was my mentor that I can go to for discussing pretty much anything that I wanted to in terms of life, and also the business and additional learning that I needed. And what I call, what the bond that I ended up having with him was a very much a vulnerable trust. More so from my perspective, right? Because he was my mentor. So I was able to share with him things that are normally you're more private about sharing those with anybody. But because I trust him, and I, was able to openly share with him, and he was able to help me a lot on things that I was going through. And I had gone through a pretty bad time from 91 to 98 when I have a really bad sickness, acid reflux. And it was very severe that it wasn't fun for me to live, actually. So he got me through that as well by talking, and just by helping me, make me realize that there's a purpose and there's a reason why he was doing it for me. And over the years, I asked him one of the questions I asked him was, Jerry, hey, you don't know me. You took a lot of chance on me. And what was the, what did you see in me that you were willing to take those chance? And he basically said one thing, and it sticks with me forever, even today, and how I operate in terms of meeting people and looking at people that I will, I mentor and so on. And he said, look, I saw a high potential in you. And that's all it was for him, to help me. So that sticks with me forever to today. And for him to be a visionary mentor that he was to me, and recognizing that where I had other leadership just didn't believe in my capability. So that was really big for me. And all of you will have that as you grow in your career. You're going to have people who support you and people who want to knock you down for whatever reason. It really doesn't matter. What you want to do is to look for people who genuinely want to help you. Right. So that becomes really cornerstone of who I am today and why I also give back a lot. And people like that will provide opportunity to you again and again. And when he moved down to a different company in 2002, I was ready to leave Sun after 18 and a half years, playing about 10 different roles within that time that I was there. And, again, I moved into a director role working for him. And a few months later, we had a reorg, and then I got exposed to Asia, and which really changed my career forever from that aspect. So you're gonna want to have people that that can guide you through that, and also create opportunity and open doors for you. That not every time that you think you can open it opened the right way for you. So those could become critical pieces of your part of your career. And the rest is, you're making the most opportunities out of the chances that people take with you, and what you are provided with the challenges. So, for me, since then, it was really important for me to give back. So I've engaged with San Jose State University. Before the mentoring program, I used to, there was a professor, I can't remember his last name, Mike, somebody that was teaching. He was my coach, professional coach, that Sun had sponsored, and I had about 10-week session with him. And he was also a part-time professor. So I actually used to go to his class every semester as a speaker, getting people ready for getting the resume ready and getting people ready for workforce in terms of those kind of discussion. So that was my engagement. And then I also did the networking from within, like I mentioned to you a few years back, where I connected with Eric. It was really fun activity. It was really rewarding for me to be part of the panel talking about that. And, I've been in a mentoring program before pandemic, maybe 2017, 2018 time, can't really remember exactly. I'm also engaged closely with the CSU Fullerton marketing group. I've been in their program for a couple of times as the keynote speaker for their events. And I have other global engagement. I mentor a few different people, kids globally. And, to me, it's nothing more rewarding giving back. So that's a little bit of my mentoring experience and engagement. I can get more into the preparing for the workforce from a Q&A perspective. So I like to leave a lot of time for the discussion.
Yeah, so while we're waiting for student questions to kind of come in, I just had a quick question for you. As you mentioned, you found your mentor through kind of like your work experience. Many of our students may not be at that point in their careers and journeys where they have started their professional employment. So what would be some tips and advice that you might have for them at this point where they can maybe start to build up those life mentors or career mentors if they're missing folks in those areas right now?
Yeah, so I think the networking through your LinkedIn, if you reach out to SJSU members, graduates, you probably get you got nothing to lose, right? So I really recommend reaching out through LinkedIn. Most of the people I know, right, and I still meet people today, through interview or whether I'm interviewing them or they're interviewing me for different opportunities, or just meeting through other channel. When you know that you graduate from the same place, there's that connection, right? There's just this weird connection that makes you feel closer. And so it's really important to reach out that way. The second place is through the mentoring program. I have mentored a number of different students through this program, and I'm always able to connect them with other professional within my network, which directly place you into a person who will welcome you and provides some level of guidance and mentoring. And the third place is, just be out there. Right. So if there are events, different company events, you want to be out there, because the people who volunteers into for those events, they're genuinely interested in. Otherwise, they won't be there, right? Because we're all very busy people, right? At the end of the day, so people who volunteer for those kind of event, for those company events like that, if you go to those events and you reach out to them, more often than not, you're going to find a positive response from them.
Yeah, and you have some of our other mentor guests in the chat kind of giving you some plus ones in agreement. One shouting out LinkedIn as a great tool. Of course, SJSU² is great because we've kind of already curated folks and mentors that want to, support students specifically with their career journeys. And then I like kind of just encouragement to just be out amongst community, right? Go out and meet folks from your field and industry, go to those employer events, go join a student club and organization in your field, right? Meeting great with people, right? And that's really going to help you start to build some of those connections and relationships. And I do like a lot of folks are also sharing in the chat that, it's very, very likely that folks are going to want to help you, right? They're going to want to share their story, give you advice, and help you with your career journey. So don't be afraid to kind of put yourself out there and make those connections. So I'm just checking in to see if there's any questions that have come in through the chat, but students, this is your time. Braylee, have you seen any questions come in?
No, nothing yet. Just as you said, a lot of our mentors chiming in, echoing Bruce's positive suggestions and just, connecting there, but no specific questions for Bruce yet.
All right, so students, feel free if you have questions for Bruce, go ahead and throw those in the chat for us. We'd be very happy to make sure that you have all of your mentoring questions answered. In the meantime, I have questions for Bruce. If you guys don't have any, I would love to hear more. Bruce, you kind of briefly mentioned this, but I would love for you to talk a little bit more about sponsorship and what that really looks like as far as mentorship and how it can help a student in their career having those types of relationships.
Yeah, so my experience, let me focus on my experience with SJSU, and maybe to certain extent to a Fullerton, that CSU Fullerton. So when you're in that program, when you sign up for it, I look at it as time that I'm allotted for, right? So I allot specific time for those students that I'm gonna, and I probably do one or two the most. I really don't want to overcommit and under deliver. So normally people, I believe that people will plan it that way, so they have time for you in 3 areas that I like to help in. And really, the first area is I try to understand the individual a lot better. So, is the individual, is a student self-aware of their strength and their career goals that they want to have? Now, keep in mind, career goals as time change, it could change, right? So it's not a set in stone and then you got to go through that. And that's the only option you have. That doesn't work that way. And I think most of you experience that even in the time that you're in the university. You may change your different major and so on. So that's the first thing I like to focus on, talk about the self-awareness of the individual, and then really focus on the strength. Because that's the end of the day, you got a lot of years that you're going to be working. So you don't need to rush to get into it. You can spare a little bit of time really thinking through, because that decision will carry on for a long term. The second area is that I talk about is preparing for the workforce. So So, I really like to discuss the resume. How do you position it? How do you get the network, as we discussed? How do you make sure that you, when you interview, what do you want to focus on so that you have the competitive advantage? Even for me, even though I've been in most of the company, I've been there at least 2 years, most of them are a lot longer than that. I actually go out and interview every year, at least once a year, just to make sure that I have that practice and I understand, even though I may not be actively looking for a job. Sometimes, there's a couple of times that it turned out that leads me to the right opportunity for the next step in my career. So that's always good. And the third piece is really, you want to think about the mentoring program as somebody who's going to sponsor you, who's going to always help you. So that's what I do, is I connect them with other people that I know that may specifically may be able to help them. Because I remember mentoring a finance major person, and I'm not a total finance, even though I love finance, right? But I over the year, I had to learn the finance aspect of the business, because you got to manage the business. But I'm able to connect them with real senior people, right? So, for example, one of the closest friends that I have, like a family, it's the CFO of the HTC, right? And he's in Taiwan. He's American. I mean, he's a U.S. citizen that is living there. And for me to connect him with somebody who's really have the detailed finance conversation, and I did that for a couple of students, it was incredible, right? For their experience become totally different, another level than I could ever help them. So that kind of sponsorship and is what you want to have, and you should be looking for.
Definitely. And I appreciate you for chatting a little bit more about like what that is and what it looks like, right? It's really someone who's advocating for you, right? And not only that, but also helping you with all the resources that you need to be successful, right? So I like that you mentioned like resume review, like interview prep, right? Giving you all of those strategies that you need to be successful in the long run. And I appreciate you for sharing that is, one of the areas of mentorship that you can get support with from someone who's already on the other side. Rayleigh, I do see your hand, so I'm assuming we have some awesome questions coming through in the chat.
Yes, we do have questions. I was that's how I figured I would get your attention. So, Bruce, you actually answered one of the questions that came in. So I don't know if you saw it or you were already going to talk about it. So that is some great minds thinking alike. But let me ask some questions that you haven't covered yet. So, One of the students asked how to approach someone, sort of like how to request or how to ask someone to be their mentor, because I know we hear that from students a lot, but that can be very intimidating. So if you have any tips or maybe a story about how you were able to form a mentoring relationship.
Yeah, so my encouragement to every student is take a look at their profile, right? And is this someone that, because just because they are well known as people, it may not be the right type of person for you, but you want to talk to somebody who have gone through what you think that you will have to go through, right? So the area that you want to focus on, and there's the worst thing they can do is say no. You got nothing to lose, right? So and it's hard, right? Because we don't want to be rejected. That's as a human, right? Human psychology, right? We don't want to be rejected, but you don't worry about that, because you're going to have a lot of that in your lifetime. But you got to be able to organize and prioritize what you need in your life. And if somebody's there going to be there to help you, they will help you. If they don't want to help, they're not going to help you, right? So you got nothing to lose from that. So I keep those things very simple. I think you look at their profile to see that, is this a type of career that you wanted to experience, you think that you will end up experiencing that's where you want to be. If they're close enough, then you just approach them. Just send them a note, or if you're in person, meet them and just say, can I get your information? I'd like to follow up with you, and so on, and do that quickly, right? Because they forget. All of us forget. So you remind them of where the meeting take place and what the event, because the reason they're there, they wanted to be there. So that will connect them back into wanting to do whatever it takes to help you. So
I think that's really great advice because, like you said, the worst thing they can do is say no. And although no feels bad, right? No one likes rejection. It's good to practice. It's good to have that experience. So everything you can turn into a learning experience, like you
Yeah,
said.
be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That's one of the things that I could absolutely tell you guys that are going to be important in your life, in your career. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I think that's a lifelong lesson, right? No matter what we're talking about, that's a good life lesson.
Yep.
I have another question for you. It pertains to mentoring, but also you may be able to speak to it a little bit from some things you said earlier. This student said, do you have any advice on how to find a good career fit? So the student is a senior and sort of getting ready to look into the work world. And I know earlier you mentioned that, we all work for a long time. So maybe you could talk about career fit, and maybe career fit means something different, as you progress. So maybe explaining how that could be looked at.
Yeah, I again, it's very simple to me when you get down to the core of it. For me, for example, I should have been a mechanical engineer, right? Because I'm a very visual person. But in those days, for me was like, wow, electrical is the place that to be for all, a lot of the students. And I'm not the best person on the software side of it. So I ended up going to electrical, but in reality, I should have been a mechanical and my career would have changed, right? But what wouldn't change is where I am today. I truly believe that I would have learned still through electrical or mechanical or even other channel. Because for me, leadership was important to me, and I gravitate towards all kinds of activity. I used to organize. I used to be an organizer, like weekend organizer. We're going to go picnic in Manteca. I don't even know if you guys know that there used to be a park in Manteca, right? So sorry, I'm getting a couple of calls here. So like I would organize that. I would do that every weekend if I had to, right? Because I enjoyed that. Because I like to bring people together and things like that. So I learned early part of my even career or childhood that I like to be around people. And then I started to get the opportunity to lead people. So I think the very first thing is self-awareness, right? You got to deep down ask yourself why. Why do I like this? Why do I like that? After you ask a few why, you probably get to about 5 or 6, 7 times. Why on top of why, then you probably get to about, okay, I think this is why I like that. And what you need to then evaluate is, do you think that you could do that for a long time, right? It may not be a lifetime, but you got to be able to do it for years, right? Like 4, 5, 10 years, if you enjoyed that. But what you don't want to do is to wait until 20 years later, and then now you want to change career. Totally possible, but it's just difficult. Right? So you want to do those things, continue to ask yourself the first 5, 10 years of your career where you are able to move around much easier and go through that. Now, the second thing is that you got to be realistic, right? Because I want to be an NBA player, right? It's never going to happen, right? I mean, I dream of that. I literally dream of, of that kind of situation, but it was never going to happen. I'm 5'6", and I got a pretty good hop when I was young, but it just wasn't going to happen, right? So you got to, and that's an extreme, right, example. But you got to have the expectation versus reality check as well. Like keep open-minded, but you got to make sure that you're clear on that. The third thing is that you just got to talk to people who have that experience, right? So you say, okay, if I want to be in the finance, I want to be a CFO someday. Well, talk to CFO, right? What do they do? What is it that they enjoy? What is it that they don't enjoy, and why? Right. So once you understand their other people's perspective, then you can make your own conclusion. There's no easy answer to that, right? Because there's nobody who is you but yourself. So you have to go through that process, and those would be what I recommend.
I think that's really helpful, and I think your last point hits home, right? There's no one right path or one right answer. That's part of finding a fit, right? You can try some different things on. So this is actually from one of your fellow mentors. She was wondering if you could share any success stories where you've had a mentee who's been able to, go on and do great things that maybe you were, helped or a part of their story.
Yeah, there's a couple. I'll give you a couple of quick ones. One is in from the in US. So I was able to help one of my mentee. This is outside of the San Jose State. And she was from CSU Fullerton, and she's very active in the school and so on. But she was struggling trying to understand which area she wanted to focus. She's a marketing major. And Aline was really smart person, right? Because you could tell by talking to her, she asked a lot of questions. She approached me. She asked me so many things, things that I want to say no. I ended up saying yes, right? Because she was very persistent about wanting to understand it more and things like that. So she's now basically, after a lot of evaluation, she's got a lot of different offer because she keep approaching different people, different company. So she's choosing between Amazon and Google. So, it's not so bad, right? Where she's going to end up with. Another story is somewhere remote. So I was born and raised in Burma. So one of the thing for me is, it's a country that, for those of you who doesn't know, is squashed between, on the east is Thailand, on the west is India, and then on the north is the China, and then there's a Indian Ocean on the south. And the country experienced some independence, democratic independence for 5 years before last year, February 1st, the coup happened again and the military took over, and then we're still fighting through it. So I'm somewhat involved with helping people to continue to fight for the democracy there. So there was somebody that I met there that she was really struggling through these kind of situation. And I just spent a lot of time trying to walk them through, even at the worst places in the world, there are going to be opportunities. So she ended up opening a small clothing, she designed herself, and because people there are much more petite, right? So they normally can find things that from outside of the country that people imported in that fits them quite well. So she was successful. I helped her a little bit with the funding to start up, and she's got 4 people she hired. She's doing well. She's now different season. She's thinking of different business. So we'll constantly touch base on trying to help her, guide her through that. So, it's very rewarding for me. There's a few other examples, but those came to my mind very quickly. So.
Those are amazing success stories, and I'm sure it was awesome for you to see your mentees be able
Absolutely.
to grow and succeed. So the next question is, what is your best advice for someone who is about to graduate, besides creating a great network and finding a mentor? So what's your third piece of advice?
So this is going to be important. Assume that you get a job, right? They're going to find a job. You do those things you got, and you have your reality check and so on. You got to be ready for the workforce, right? And what that means is that, going back to fundamental I talked about earlier, you have to be willing to work hard. There is no replacement for hard work. It just doesn't exist in my view. And if it does, it may fool you for a short period of time. So you got to have a very focused approach of, okay, this is what I'm willing to do. And that you got to ask yourself a lot of questions around that. What is it that you're willing to do, right? Second thing is to be consistently reliable. That is, is understatement to me, because eventually people will get, it becomes one of the cornerstone of every success, right? Because you're very reliable. And be predictable, right? Nobody likes surprises. And I always, when I go through an interview, I always ask that question on different angle to see if how do they deal with those kind of situations. You want to be predictable in terms of, you're always going to, once you commit, you deliver, right? And if you can deliver because whatever reason, you communicate and you set another different timeline, right? And no surprises, right? And clarity is so important. the one thing that I think I remember watching TikTok, and one of the thing that I saw from Warren Buffett, he also said that. He said the one thing that his advice for students, and I have that on my list, the same thing, is communication, right? Because what you're going to learn in your career is your verbal communication becomes very important, and that means a clear, concise, accurate, right? Reading is going to be very, very important for you too, for significant growth, because a lot of time you may not get face time, but they're gonna be able to read what you put together. It's got to be facts-based. It's got to be convincing. You got to make sure you get your addressing to the right audience with the right type of information. And the other thing is be a good team player, right? As the in the old days when I was working, started, you could be a hero and then you get rewarded for it and stuff like that. Those days are over. This is about team. That life is a lot more comprehensive way of solutioning nowadays. I like for the fact that we are virtual, so you're gonna have to be a good team player, and you got to come across that way. And last but not least, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Your conscience is going to catch up to you if you always playing politics and stuff. And even if it's unpopular at times, just do the right thing. The right people will see it, because you don't want to be around people that don't care about the right thing at the end of the day. This is, that's my experience is that those are going to be what you want to continue to build on your portfolio.
I think that's really important, especially when you're joining the workforce. It can be overwhelming, and it sounds like, and I would agree, that it is important to stay consistent and follow through, because your employer doesn't care that this is all new to you, right? The expectations are still there. So
yeah, they replace you within a week, right? When you're not there. So don't worry about that piece, right? So but you can control, right? Two things that I learned, right? You can spend the time however you want. You don't have an unlimited time, even though most of us think that. Even I have to remind myself, right? Oh, yeah, I got plenty of time. No, you don't. But you have to decide how you're going to spend your time. Every moment you have. It's hard to do, but you got to work hard on that. The second thing is that only you can control your thought, nobody else, right? And that's, again, very hard to do, because you get influenced by, a bunch of different things in our life. Even our parents, people who love us, people who mean well to us. But at the end of the day, you control that thought. I teach my 6.5 years old that today, right? Because I'm an old father. So I really, those are really a important life lesson for me. And those will become, forever. You're going to learn anyway. Life is a journey. So continuous learning is always going to be there. But those are the fundamental things that you could control and you could do.
Awesome. Okay, I have another question. And full disclosure, I don't know if you have the answer to this, but I'll still ask it. It says, sure. Do you have any insight on if taking a gap year after graduation could be potentially damaging when looking for a job later? Would there be any scenarios where a gap year would make a candidate more interesting?
This is a really, really, really good question. I've seen a couple of people that done it different way. One of the benefit, right? I don't know what's good or bad. Okay, so I'm not going to answer good or bad, but I have seen both, right? I've seen that works on the both sides. One is that, you can continue with your higher education and graduate courses and so on, and you come out and then you're ready for workforce. For some people, that works really well, right? Because they wanted to finish it, they wanted to have a little bit more time to decide where they want to go into, and it works really well. I have seen students, and I've met, I mentor a couple of them where they actually took the gap. So one of the person that I'm mentoring today, there's one I have one mentee today, and he had a long gap, and now he's going back to school. right? Full-time at San Jose State. And it's like, oh, really intriguing to me to mentor him, right? And for people who finally decided that, look, this is not where I really want. I feel I'm a little stuck here. I'm going to go back to school after this because I wanted to gain some experience. For those people, it works really well. So you have to look inward to say, do I know where I want to be? And there's nothing wrong with a couple of years being out there, finding a job and doing a few things to validate your own thinking before you go back. Nothing's wrong at all. So both ways are workable. You just have to figure out what is best for you.
Awesome. All right. So this is a question for you, Bruce, a little bit more about your story.
Okay.
The student said, now that you've had so much experience, what are your own personal career goals, either long-term or short-term?
Oh my God, retirement. And so actually, no. So, I tell myself that I enjoy people. I love working with people, and I love being able to make impact to the future generations. So I don't think I'm ever going to retire. So the last job, the current job that I have, is a very much like a VC firm. So it's a holding company that operates 4 different divisions. And I run the operations supply chain because those 2 companies has a products. So we have a service and product. So I run the operations, supply chain, logistics, manufacturing, all of that for those 2 companies. The other two companies are investment arm and a real estate arm. So we're very diverse, right? So for me, what was attractive for me in this kind of role was essentially I wanted to get into a VC type of firm that allowed me to go in and out of different businesses and help, right? Because that's my aspiration, is that, probably another 2-3 years, I'll be able to, I will want to do that full time. I have gotten involved with UC Riverside on some of their school program, where we tailor the program, educational programs. I've done that with UC Irvine as well. And I hope to continue a lot more work with Eric and the, San Jose here. But for me, the next step is really working on more and more giving back and contributing more for, future generation globally. Because I really think that there are places that need a lot more help. Like my motherland is a place that I always thought about. And Thailand is another good place because I live there. I have a place there, and I have a lot of good friends there. So I like to get back there too. So.
Well, Bruce, that ties in really well to our whole topic, right? You're at the point now where you're ready to, show the gratitude that you've received and been able to sort of grow over your career. So, students, just a reminder, we have just a few minutes left with the Q&A with Bruce. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. These have been some really great, engaging and insightful questions from our students. Really appreciate you being here, Bruce, and really appreciate the students speaking up and asking their questions, because it's a great way. Yeah, they are some really great questions. So this is a question that I'll answer a little bit, and then I'll let Bruce dive in as well. But the student asked, is mentorship strictly for STEM majors? And I'll say, no, mentorship is for everyone. It's for students, it's for professionals, it's for, anyone can benefit from mentorship. And our SJSU² program has has opportunities for all majors. So that is great. And then some students are asking about mentorship. So I think Christina Larissa will drop in the chat the link to the platform, which you have mentioned, which was a great resource and connector for you to stay in the loop with SJSU. So I think we're probably.
You guys got a, sounds, you guys have done an amazing job, right? Matching different mentor and a mentee. It was, every time I get a mentee through the program, it's very interesting, right? They have different aspect that they were looking to get a little bit of assistance on, and it's wonderful. So people should use that. Student, if you are not familiar with it, you look at the link and use that. It's really good.
Awesome. So Larissa, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and give a nice big round of applause for Bruce sharing his journey and story and advice for you all.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and get some
Appreciate
claps.
I enjoy it. So
that's one of the things I miss about being virtual. You can't hear the applause, but we have a little for you.
Well, remember I told you I'm a very visual person. So I really look forward to all of us, getting back again at the campus.
Yes,
always bring
yes,
back good
definitely.
memory.
We'll have to have you come in person at some point for sure. But thank you so much, Bruce, for sharing your advice and sticking around to answer some of those student Q&As. Lots of great advice and tips that you shared. I was putting some summary highlights in the chat as you were talking and sharing tips and advice. So hopefully students were able to capture some great notes and tips that they can take forward. And as we mentioned before, the conversation doesn't necessarily end here for you, right? You are a mentor on our SJSU² platform, which Christine and I both put a link in the chat. So you guys are also able to connect with Bruce through the platform anytime you need some additional tips and advice. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is a wonderful program.
All right, so speaking of platform, let's go ahead and dive in. So one of the things that you've heard us mentioning throughout the presentation is SJSU². What this is an online mentoring platform that connects SJSU students or mentees to alumni such as Bruce or other industry professionals. Sometimes we have friends of the university, folks that maybe didn't attend San Jose State University, but now live here locally that just want to support you all, SJSU students, in your career. So it's a lot of conversations like what we've been having with Bruce today, like what is your journey? What is your story? What tips and advice do you have for me to break into that career or industry? That's really what this platform is to foster, is that community of resources and connections. LinkedIn is also a great resource for this, as you heard Bruce mention earlier. However, sometimes with LinkedIn, you might get folks that are not necessarily on the platform to specifically help with mentorship. Whereas SJSU², that is purely what this platform is for. It's career advice and mentorship. So it's more likely that you're going to find some folks on this platform that are willing to have those conversations with you. So a couple of things to keep in mind for the platform. There's different ways that you can participate. The first one is quick connections. So that is available year round. You can pop on, summer break, spring break, whenever you have some time, and do one-time career conversations with any of our professionals, right? So you could have, just like what we had today with Bruce, a 30-minute conversation, get some tips and advice from him. And then, if you decide to kind of move on from there and go talk to other people, you could. If you wanted to start to foster a longer term relationship with Bruce, you could have that conversation, but you're not required to, right? You have that flexibility. The other area of the platform that we offer is our professional mentoring and meetups program. This is an admission-based program, and it's only open in the fall and spring. And typically for fall, it opens around September. For spring, typically it's open in February, so first month of the semester. And this is a more long-term relationship with a specific mentor. So we do require that the students and mentors that are matched to this program have at least 3 conversations throughout the course of a semester. They can do more, but just no less. And the goal for this program is really to kind of foster, that sponsorship that Bruce was talking about. Someone that you can go back to that's going to help you with your resume, help you with interview prep, help you with all of those tools and strategies that you need to make that transition from from college to career successfully. So really, having that sponsor and cheerleader to help support you in making that transition. And then we also do have groups. These are by invite only. So if you are affiliated with a specific group, you would receive an invite from outside of the platform, and those are available year round, but they are specifically designed for folks of a specific affinity to meet and gather. So for example, there is a group that is specific for Seagate, and it has all of their employee mentors from Seagate that are available on the platform for students to connect with them. Okay, but usually those are by invite only. All right, so lots of different ways that you can engage with mentorship and find folks through the SJSU² platform. So I'm actually going to pass it over to, let me see if my colleague Christine is here.
Yes, I am here. So let me share screen at this point. Okay. So you can go to the Career Center website to find the link to SJSU². If you hover over resources, you click on SJSU², or you can go to One SJSU and then just type the word mentoring, and this should pop up. As long as you're on logged in with your Tower ID, you can click on the logo and it should lead you to the platform. So if it's your first time, there will be a bunch of questions that will be asked of you. And then after you complete those registration questions, you basically end on this landing page. And what I'm primarily going to be demonstrating is quick connections. So this is how you can find folks, you know, for that one-time career conversation that Larissa was mentioning earlier. So you click on quick connections, it's thinking a little bit, but as you can see here on the top, there are different filters that you could use to search for folks. Or you can, you know, just type in a name or a company name, or a title of a role, or a major, or, you know, you could use that filter as well. So, but basically, like once this is the landing page, so you can see there's 992 active users, meaning they are alumni who are here volunteering their time to help Spartans. So if you see the green light, it means they're currently online and you can chat now if you wanted to, but you could find people also, right, here. And so let's say, you know, you're interested in someone who is working at Google. So you can type in the keyword Google, and these are folks who are currently working at Google or might have historically worked at Google, right? So let's say you're interested in connecting with John here. You click on his profile, read his profile, and let's say that he's doing things that you're really, really into. So you could then connect, message him. And the tool is pretty cool because it already has the information. I mean, there's templates you could use, right, depending on the topic you want to discuss, but you can still, you know, customize it as you would want to. So there's also his information here if you just want to review, and then you can click send. And this is a quick way of requesting for time. But like I said, alumni on this platform are volunteering their time. They're also working full time. So we ask students to at least give, you know, 5 to 7 business days for, you know, a response. Because, you know, our alumni are also busy, of course. So we want to be mindful of that. So that's how you find quick connections. I mean, you can find alumni on Quick Connection. If you're looking for Bruce, who you just shared his experience with us, let's try putting his name in and see if he pops up. Oops, I don't know why he's not popping up here. But there he is. I spelled his name incorrectly, so I apologize for that. But you know, Bruce is currently online and with us at now. He's in 2 places at one time. So you could connect with Bruce that way, right? So that's basically you know, how you find folks on Quick Connections. Any communication you have, you will find them here in this, you know, envelope icon, so that if you want to keep track of the folks that you have connected with. So Larissa, is there anything else that you feel I should discuss?
No, I was just going to highlight for the professional mentoring program. Again, if folks are interested in that more ongoing relationship, the next time it will be open is in September for applications. So just keep an eye out on communications for that.
Yes, and if you wonder, but in the meantime, I think there might be information that they can read up about it, but again, it's closed for spring. It is by semester that it's offered, and it is more targeted to those who already have a clearer idea of where they want to go and maybe looking for a mentor to support them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine, for that demo. I am going to pop back up with the screen share. So once again, if you are interested, there were some links in the chat. You can also find this on one.sjsu.edu by searching Mentory and logging in with your SJSU One ID. But very great resource for you all if you are looking to kind of build your network and start some of those connections. And then we actually have some folks in the room today that are from SJSU². So I'm going to pass it over to Braley to go ahead and introduce some of those folks.
Thanks, Larissa. So I have the pleasure of getting to work with all of our alumni mentors. And as we've mentioned a few times, these are folks who are volunteering their time and want to give back to the Spartan community. So I'm just going to highlight some of our mentors and tell you a little bit about them. And again, you can find all of these mentors on SJSU². So I'm going to start with some of I call them our original mentors. You all know Bruce at this point. He was a list that I inherited when I started. He has been involved with SJSU for many years. And something that is wonderful about Bruce is he is willing to work with lots of different departments on campus. So he has volunteered for the Career Center. He's volunteered for the Alumni Association. So if you're on campus and you would like Bruce to come speak, I am sure he would take you up on that invitation. Next, I want to highlight Vosh, who also joined when we started the platform back in 2018. Vosh has volunteered every single semester and has made almost 20 connections with student mentees over the past several years. So big thank you to Vosh for being one of our original mentors and coming back every single semester. Then I want to shout out Alex. You all will get to meet Alex a little bit later. Alex was a student on the platform and is now an alumni mentor. And Alex is excited to get to chat with students and pass some of that knowledge from being a recent graduate and also a consultant. We do not have very many active consultants in the program. There are many consultants on the platform, but if you're looking for a more in-depth connection, Alex is a great contact for the semester-long program. All right, we're going to move to 2020. So Ted is an awesome mentor because Ted has experience in communications, web design, and media. So if you're a student who some of those things sound interesting to you, Ted's a great place for you to start. Ted also has a background in being an educator, so he is really great at helping you kind of figure out your path as you go through. Then I'm going to shout out Julie. Julie joined us in 2020 and has been a mentor and also a speaker at some of our previous events. And Julie is an amazing connector. So if Julie doesn't have an answer for you or doesn't have a specific experience, Julie has an amazing network that she developed while at SJSU and will help you get connected to the right people. Want to shout out Paige. Paige was one of our most enthusiastic mentors when she joined, and she is actually one of the most popular mentors on Quick Connections. This semester alone, she's already received 4 Quick Connections, which is almost the limit. So she is highly sought after on the platform. Going to transition next to Maya. Maya brings unique perspective because Maya was a member of the Career Center team as a student and is now an HR professional. So if you have questions about navigating SJSU or questions about being in the HR workforce, Maya is a great place to start. This is Zach's first semester. We're going to move to 2022. This is Zach's first semester on the platform, and he already has a 5-star review and has already been a mentor in the semester-long program. So off to a great start. Next up is Sahid. So you will meet Sahid a little bit later, more in depth in one of our breakout rooms. But how amazing that just joined in February and is already willing to be a speaker in a breakout room. So that really shows some great commitment. Next, I want to shout out Tony. Tony is one of our mentors who is not local. Tony actually lives in Ohio. As you can see, he works for the Ohio Attorney General. So not only is he a great resource for students, he does it in a different time zone. So make sure you connect with Tony if you're interested in anything related to law and practice. Next up is Maria. Maria also joined the platform in 2022, and you'll get to meet Maria a little bit later. She is our third breakout session lead. And something that makes Maria unique is when mentors are able to join and register, they can check all these boxes about how they want to be involved and how they want to volunteer. And Maria literally checked all the boxes. So if you are a student on this call and you are part of a student organization and you're looking to find a mentor who will work with your student group, Maria is a great place to start. She is a champion for students and would really, really want to connect with you. So keep her in mind when you're looking for volunteer opportunities and to connect with a mentor. Next up is Stella. Stella is one of our 9 nurses on the platform. So she is highly sought after and has been very flexible and open to meeting with all the mentees because there are many students who are interested in healthcare and we just don't have that many mentors on the platform. So Stella is a champion for us in the healthcare community. And then last but not least, one of our newest mentors, Anjali, who has expertise in program management. And so although I don't work with students directly, I do get to work with the Career Center. And I see that a lot of our students are really interested in being involved in program management, learning all the ins and outs there. And she is your contact. She specifically called out that that is one of her expertise and would love to connect with you and help you learn more about that world and role, especially if you're looking to go into PM work within the tech industry. So if any of our mentors that I just shouted out, if Larissa, if you don't mind stopping screen share, and if they could take their camera, put their camera on, and if they have their mug, hold it up and just sort of wave to everyone. Thank you all so much for your unwavering commitment to our students, your continued volunteering. We are truly, truly so grateful for all of you and all the time that you've given our students and also your fellow alumni. So thank you all so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate you, and I'm so grateful for all your hard work. Back to you, Larissa.
Awesome, thank you. And hopefully that helped the students, get some ideas of who's on our platform and what types of expertise that they have. We have some really, really awesome, amazing folks, all different levels of career, all different types of backgrounds and experiences. There is someone for everyone on this platform. So I hope you all are able to connect. And thank you so much for all of our mentors. They volunteer their time. They don't get paid to do this. They do it out of the goodness of their hearts. So really, really appreciate you all for being here and supporting our students because we couldn't do this without you.